Just ahead on American Black Journal, we'll talk about preparing children and adults for the jobs of today and the future. From STEM education to the skilled trades, we'll look at the efforts here in Michigan to inspire young people and train residents for successful careers. Stay right there. American Black Journal starts now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. We're coming to you from the Michigan CEO Summit at the West End Book Cadillac in downtown Detroit. This annual gathering is hosted by business leaders for Michigan, and it brings together top business and community executives to discuss ways to compete in the global marketplace. My first guest is one of the CEOs in attendance here. She heads up one of the state's educational gems, the Michigan Science Center. The museum is celebrating its 5th birthday with a very exciting exhibit. I'd like to welcome Dr. Tanya Matthews back to American Black Journal. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. Good to be back.
Does that mean you've been with us for 5 years?
Almost. I have indeed seen all 5 of our birthdays. So I'm just over my 4-year plus.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you very much.
I can remember when we weren't sure there was going to be a science center here.
Yes.
It closed, and we had to sort of rethink the whole thing.
And I think that's actually part of the point of the 5th anniversary and also what the summit is talking about, this idea of sustainability. You know, 5 years old means you guys can look forward to seeing us for the next 100 years, which is fantastic.
There's a lot more stability built into the into the model. So let's talk about the special exhibit.
Yeah, so we've been looking at different ways we've grown. So we are now hosting 1001 Inventions, Untold Stories of a Golden Age in Civilization. And in addition to the amazing content, it's talking about scientific innovation and this leap in the 7th through 17th, 18th centuries, kind of similar to what's going on right now. If you think that the iPad is only 10 years old and it has taken over your life. So it was one of those hyper periods of technological growth. But I think what's important for the Michigan Science Center in Detroit is that it is an internationally traveling, world-renowned exhibition that has come here through what we've been able to do in building the brand. Of course, we're growing right alongside with Detroit. So this is really important to both of us to be able to host this.
The importance of science. We get reminded of it every day. You talk about the tablet and the phone. You know, I sleep with the phone next to my head. It's the first thing I do in the morning, the last thing I do at night. I don't know that we're to the place, though, where everybody thinks about all of the science that goes into it, and that they could be part of that. That you could be, you know, I say this to my kids all the time, you know, you could invent something that's making my phone work, or invent the phone itself.
Yeah.
We're still working on that.
Absolutely, moving this conversation from consumer to creator.
Right.
Right.
That's a
And
great way to put
perhaps
it.
it's for an industry or for a job or for your home life work balance, sort of whatever it is. We have programs that teach kids and curious adults how to code their own app in under a half a day. Right. So there are different kinds of things that we can and should be doing. And also when it comes to really important stuff dear to my heart, medical technology, right? It's also about how much do we need to know in order to be a partner in all of these new technologies that are coming into our lives. So it's for everyone now. So we need everyone to focus on algebra. Not that bad. We can get this done.
Right. I was not that great at algebra, so that's why I'm not in the tech field.
But your entire world, though, is powered by technology.
It is,
right? You probably use more technology on a daily basis than some friends that I have that work in tech-based companies. So it really is everywhere.
Yeah. Let's talk about the educational outreach that you guys do at the Science Center. I know it's a big component of the programming, but talk specifically about what you see in Detroit and the partnerships that you're able to build there, where I think everyone knows the need is just more critical.
The need is really critical, and I think now that we're having these conversations about education as that leads to workforce development, Michigan going into the top 10, it starts at the ground level, right? It starts at the education system, and we've been able to pilot and experiment with collaborations of scale. We were able to adopt the entire 7th grade for Detroit Public Schools Community District, and then the entire 4th grade. This idea of what if it really was about every child? What does that look like? How is that possible? And that was everything from bringing every student into the Science Center for a lesson that matched their textbook. One of the things I'm particularly proud of is we then used the STEMinista project to put a STEM career professional role model into every 4th grade classroom. And that's transformative. So there are things that we need to be thinking about differently, right? School, the classroom is a part of our education, but it was never designed to be the entire thing. Got to get parents involved, community involved, future employers involved. And by all means, call the Michigan Science Center.
Right. It's interesting you say the classroom's important, but you need all these other things. We still, though, have classroom challenges in Detroit with science in particular. Not enough people to teach it, not enough money to hire the people to teach it in certain places. And
one of the things I like about some of the ideas that are going on at the summit is perhaps even thinking about teaching and education as a profession the way we think about businesses. Whenever your business is trying to do something new or big or special, you bring in a specialist, you bring in a consultant. That is not an insult or considered bad business. So what happens when we really want to be teaching students about education or IT or coding? Is that a time when you bring in your enrichment partner, knowing that our teachers are professionals at social-emotional development, reading, basic math, basic science, when we're ready to step up, when we're ready to talk about skilled trades or craftsmanship at a higher level? This is when we really need to think about bringing in and integrating these special STEM enrichment partners as opposed to just sort of a one-off visit.
The Science Center for my entire life has been where it is. I can remember when I was a kid, I remember when it opened, and there was a big exhibit about the space shuttles. It was one of the first things I remember seeing there. But that's a community of museums, arts institutions. Talk about how that all works together in the new iteration of the Science Center.
I think it's working together now in a very different way. At the end of the day, Detroit actually has a museum district. We don't really talk about it that way, but we're trying to experiment with that. So for the 1001 Inventions exhibition, we created a joint field trip with the DIA. So kids will come and they will start their day at the Science Center, and then the DIA worked with us to align galleries over at the DIA. They will cross the street. You walk across 50 steps, Stephen, 50 steps.
Across the street,
and so that's all kinds of kids, both sides of the brain, connecting technology to the world, to beauty, to art. and those field trips sold out.
Yeah.
So we do know that there is interest, the kids like it, the students like it. We need to be doing more things like that throughout Midtown.
Yeah. When you got here, I remember remarking how significant I thought it was that an African-American woman was going to lead the Science Center, how significant that would be to people in this community. But I also always want to give you a chance to talk about, you have like 7 degrees or something. Like, I mean, you're one of the most educated people I know, and it's always so impressive. And I think that is part of that significance, right? The way that you have found through these barriers that prevent people from doing what you have done. I mean, you sort of show, hey, it can work.
Well, you know, I really appreciate that, and thank you. But I really like being in Detroit. I mean, this is a powerful and incredible community, and I have had the experience where people see all of me, and I have to admit, I think Detroit gets it, right? I mean, you're talking about barriers and people thinking you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, or that you may not make it. You know, it's part of the story and the culture and community here, but I do acknowledge and respect what it means to be the first African-American female CEO, first African-American CEO of the Science Center here. But I want to push us forward and say that's just one of the additional ways Detroit should be and could be leading the country. Right. At the end of the day, to keep this nation going, we're going to need more people like me sort of at those tables, because this is what we're starting to look like. Right,
right. And not just a scientist, but also a pretty darn good poet, too. Renaissance woman, right?
Yes. Well, you know, and so that's one of the things, you know, we're having these conversations about STEAM, you know, adding the arts to the STEM. And I think that's starting to underlie the issue of, you know, science, technology is creative and it requires problem solvers.
It's the same part of your brains that
and you got to get all of that sort of going together. And so I really try very hard not to intermingle the two, but they do on a daily basis. Sometimes my staff tells me less metaphors, more spreadsheets, sort of those
stick to the data,
kinds of things, but it works.
All right, well, thanks very much for being here, and congratulations again on 5 years.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right, up next, an event that introduces Detroiters to the skilled trades industry. But first, we continue our look back at the 1967 rebellion with the Detroit Historical Society's Oral History Project. Here's Detroit philanthropist Elaine Drakkar.
In 1967, we were living on Renfrew in Green Acres, and we'd been there for 2 years. The day of the eruption, and I know there's a question of whether it's a riot or a rebellion or an eruption or one of the many, many words that people, the euphemisms I call them, that people have used. I think it was a rebellion that turned into a riot. And I learned through some work that I did subsequently that the term race riot wasn't really accurate. The riots in the 40s on the Belle Isle Bridge, that those were race riots, that this one wasn't. But whatever it was significant. People were killed, property was destroyed, and it left a very, very strong imprint on our community that I think we're still, I know, we're still living with today.
As National Apprenticeship Week gets underway, there's a push to promote the skilled trades as a viable career option. Detroit is experiencing a construction boom, but the demand for workers far exceeds the number of skilled tradespeople. The second annual Apprenticeship Expo is being held this week to introduce Detroiters to the construction and transportation industries. It's hosted by a partnership of unions, businesses, government, and nonprofits. Joining me now are Tony Cradafil from the Michigan Department of Transportation, Dennis Mitchell from Barton Mallow, and Mehcad, an electrician apprentice. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you, Steve.
So we talk about this issue a lot in Detroit, the boom in construction and the lack of people to fill those jobs. That has a lot to do with opportunity, the lack of opportunity that we see in neighborhoods in Detroit. Talk about how this apprenticeship program moves the needle on that, Tony.
Well, I think the first thing, Stephen, is it helps bring awareness to the opportunity that's there. I think people see the projects and all the exciting things going on in Detroit, but they want to know how they can get involved.
They don't necessarily know that it can be something for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And the pathway into the industry is not always really clear or obvious to people. So the event next week really highlights how people can find their entry point into the industry.
Yeah. Michigan Department of Transportation, of course, is one of the hirers for some of these jobs, correct?
Well, we are in the sense any public agency puts contracts out.
Yeah.
But we are actually hiring contractors who hire people.
Who then hired the...
So it's a complex system, and
Yeah.
that's actually what we've been spending a lot of time the last 8 or 10 years trying to bring all the right parties together to say, how can we do better to give opportunities to people?
Right, right. This gap in skills, you know, is one of the reasons that we see people not taking advantage, but there are some other things at play too, correct, Dennis?
So some of the factors are that people don't understand, like Tony said, the clear career path. You have to be at least 18 years of age to work on an active construction site. You have to be dressed properly. So there are certain things that we are diligently working on called an apprenticeship checklist. What should apprentice know after you go to the hall and sign up? How do you get in contact with a direct employer like Barton Mallow? And then from there, what do you need to do on day one? So what time are your breaks? There are a lot of people who don't understand that before they actually go to the job site. So spending time around that and really being clear with what the requirements are. So understanding that you have to take a drug test, that's very important. And you have to be prepared in advance. So being on a job site is not like being in an office or working in a different type of field. It's very unique. So there are soft skills that need to come into play. And again, a lot of people don't understand that. So I spend a lot of time educating the community on that alone.
If you think about all of the things that you have to know and that you have to do, I mean, it could be a little intimidating. I mean, reasonably, it could be very intimidating. But then when you're thinking of folks who have been sort of locked out in the first place, you're really talking about significant barriers.
Yeah, but so not locked out, but just not prepared. And that's a fault of our industry. That's a fault of you know, us not working together as a community overall to prepare people, because we understand that the transition from many years ago was to go into the trades.
Right.
Well, that needle shifted, and a lot of people wanted to go into technology. So we're really at the transitional point now where the need is there, and we have to understand how to communicate to people in a way in which they get prepared early in advance. So holding hands along the way is not just an employer responsibility, it's really a community-driven effort.
Yeah, yeah. And the time that it takes to get through these apprenticeship programs, I know, is comparable in some cases to college. If you want to be a journeyman carpenter, for instance, you spend 4 years as an apprentice.
That's actually one of our taglines.
Is that?
Is that the trades are the other 4-year degree.
Right, right.
But the difference between that and a college education is that you're earning money.
You're working while you're doing it.
You're working while you're learning, and you're progressing to a place where you can participate more fully in the trades.
Yeah, yeah. Mehcad, you are working as an electrician, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so tell me about how you sort of came to the realization that that was something you wanted to do, but also something that you could do.
Okay, well, first off, I have a finance degree. So I went to college, I had finance, was working in finance. I figured out that I really like to use my hands more, so I wanted to do something that was manually labor, but mentally challenged. So I looked around, found out electrician would fit me best.
Yeah, and what is it about being an electrician that sort of attracts your attention?
Well, because it's an everyday need for everybody. So I wanted to be able to do my due diligence, contribute to society in my city. So.
And talk about some of the projects that you've worked on. Some of them we might know, right?
I worked on Little Caesars Arena with Dennis here, with outreach, with diversity. But with my apprenticeship, I been working with a lot of Ford plants. So
yeah, I think that's really interesting that you went to college, got a degree, and then decided that the trades were more interesting. that's sort of an unusual or non-traditional path. Do you feel like you made the wrong decision in trying to get a degree first and maybe should have done this instead, or are you happy that you have both and it gives you options?
I'm happy that I have both. The only thing is I didn't know about skilled trade until I started working and I seen it. But at high school, middle school, I didn't know anything about skilled trade. So
no one was telling you in your high school,
yeah,
hey, here's a couple of other kinds of things you might do.
Everything was go to college. And then I graduated in 2007 when the economy tanked.
Okay.
So no one was hiring, go straight to college.
Right, right. That gets to a cultural problem, right, that we have in schools.
That's right.
People are not being told that this is a career.
Which is partly why there's National Apprenticeship Week next week, and partly why we're hosting the expo. And it's not just hosting an expo, it's hosting it at Randolph Career Technical Education Center, which through the efforts of Mayor Duggan has been reinvigorated in partnership with DPS. So it's really letting the community know that there are options out there so that students going through school, like Mehcad, realize that there's opportunities in other things besides college.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dennis.
So I think it's important to note that a lot of people in the community aren't aware of where Randolph is located. So Randolph, I'm a Randolph graduate, so I'm a Randolph alum. So it's near and dear to my heart as well. And I'm very thankful that Bart Mello has gotten behind the efforts to support the city in revitalizing the school. But the school is on the west side of Detroit, right on 6 Mile and Hubble. So it's important for people to really be there on Tuesday from 4 to 7 to come out and really learn about the trades overall. We're going to have hands-on demonstrations. There will be employers there, but the goal is to really show people what the work is. So there are many trades that make up the construction industry, more than 20 actually. So we're going to really walk through what some of those trades are and some of the hands-on, like Mehcad said, in his day-to-day activities that he performs. We're going to do that at Randolph.
Yeah. What made you pick Randolph? I didn't know that about you. What made you say, hey, this is something I think I can do?
So I'm a dual DPS graduate. I'm proud to say that. I'm a graduate of Renaissance High School, but at the time, Randolph had an agreement with Renaissance.
Okay.
So it goes to show a lot of the transition within the school system that has taken place because they had a partnership. So students were allowed to go over to Randolph for half a day and learn various trades. Well, now that doesn't exist. So how do we get back to what that was? Because if it wasn't for Randolph, and my parents, honestly, my dad is a retired electrical worker, so I had some knowledge going in as to what the apprenticeships were, but if it wasn't for a school like Randolph, it really gave me the opportunity to get into the industry, I wouldn't be in construction.
You wouldn't know. Mehcad, do you see a day when you might use both things, both your finance degree and your electrician certification?
Yes, I believe I use it now a lot when it comes to man hours and the cost of materials and manpower and the duration of the job. So my foreman knows I have a college degree, so he's always asking me, because now the construction is steering towards using a lot of technology. A lot of the guys don't know how to use computers and tablets, so spreadsheets, so I still help them out with that.
Yeah, that could also be the germ of some sort of entrepreneurial opportunity for you as well, because you understand that. We've got about a minute left. I want to give you guys a chance to talk about the things that need to move still to get us to a better space on this.
You know, Dennis mentioned the role of parents in encouraging their students, and so this expo is really for the entire community. We hope to see a lot of parents there too, because they can be the encouraging force for their students to consider skilled trades as an option.
Right. It starts with home. Yeah.
And I think it's also important to note that this is our second year doing it. So this is something that we're looking to do on an annual basis. The need is there. The commitment is there from employers, from the city, and the interest is there from the community. So we really want to make sure that we get people out there on Tuesday from 4 to 7. I can't stress it enough. It's very important that you come out and really learn about viable careers in construction.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, finally today, we want to offer our condolences to the family of U.S. District Judge Anna Diggs Taylor, who passed away At the age of 84, Judge Taylor was an African-American trailblazer. In 1979, she became the first black woman to serve as a federal judge here in Michigan. She was later named Chief Judge for the Eastern District of Michigan. Another first for a black female during her career. Judge Taylor presided over several high-profile cases. She is survived by her husband, S. Martin Taylor, son Douglas, and daughter, Carla. That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. We want to thank Business Leaders for Michigan and the Weston Book Cadillac for hosting us. For more information about our guests, go to AmericanBlackJournal.org. And as always, you can connect with us on Twitter and on Facebook. See you next time.
As American Black Journal looks ahead at the next 50 years, we want to hear from you, the viewers. Tell us what you think of this program and what you'd like to see on future episodes. Visit AmericanBlackJournal.org to take a quick survey and share your opinion. Thank you.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.